Okay, cool. Well, then, yeah, thank you for joining so quickly, because I thought when I reached out to you, I'm like, if he even reads it, let's see. And you're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. I appreciate it. That is very cool. Just very quickly, right? So because it's a new thing here, the Fight Principles podcast. So I thought I wanted to do something with martial arts for like the longest time. And it's not my main job. I'm like, does it work? Will it work? I don't know. And I'm like, let's just do it. And so I'm trying to figure out like how can we use martial arts, what we learn, what it gives us in like real life, kinda, right? So that's the idea here. So I appreciate you coming on, and I thought about how to introduce you, right? Because as an MMA fan, of course, I've known you from Twitter, X, and then, I mean, in the beginning, like all your tweets and stuff is what made me aware of you. But I think the biggest thing then was like when you talked to Luke Thomas, like was it last year or so, I think?
It was, I think, August. Yeah, August last year.
And you talked about so many things, so way more than just the MMA stuff, which was really impressive. So how should I introduce you?
However you want, man. However you want. I don't want to tell you.
So then what do you tell people? Like I'm Ben, and I do what? Because you do so many things.
Yeah, I define myself as a play-by-play commentator. That's where I start. That's the first broad term that I think illustrates most of what I do, and is how I personally view myself.
Okay, cool. And the rest is just fun add-on, or like how did it all happen?
Oh, come on, baby. Cakes have layers. You know, you can't just have one thing going on. You got to have a lot of stokes in the fire.
I love it. A great saying. Just because I know you talked about it many times, but just in very briefly, like how did you start with it? How did you end up in the like MMA martial arts sphere?
For sure. So when I was at Arizona State University, I was studying finance, and that quickly became really frustrating for me because I didn't fit in the classroom. I didn't fit in the clubs. I didn't fit in the internships. Something just wasn't right. And around the time I was a junior, I just decided to pivot. I quit everything that I was involved in and sat on the sidelines for a bit and just kind of with myself went, okay, what am I good at? What do I enjoy? And what would bring me the most fulfillment? And at that point in time, around 27 or at 2021, I was a huge fan of martial arts. I'd been for about 4 years. And so I thought, okay, I don't know what specifically I could do, but let me just dip my toes into MMA, combat sports, and see what happens. And through a series of crazy, stupid events that involves reporting to the play-by-play to me losing most of the fights I'm in, we're here now. So it's been a weird journey.
That's a crazy story. And I have more questions on that in a second, but just to put it out there as an FYI, when you said like at uni, then you have to pivot and stuff like this. My main job is a university professor, so you're hearing.
Oh,
No, but I actually like it because, like, I mean, so my major that I teach in is communication and media and communication studies, and so many students just do it just because they don't even know why. They just like, I just want to graduate. I'm going to do this for 4 years, and I have no idea why I do it. So I actually think it's very cool when people find a reason to pivot and like, hey, that's not for me. I want to try something else, which is actually very cool.
Well, think our society these days, especially America, is so fixated on that 4-year undergraduate degree. And there's this heightened emphasis that if you don't have that, then you won't succeed in the job market. Then you won't be a valuable member of society. And that mindset is a nightmare for so many kids. And so they'll go through it, like you said, almost aimlessly. They don't know exactly what the path is, but they just think, okay, I have to do what others are doing. I'm in this mold. And if I try and break out of it, then I'm going to be homeless, right? That's kind of the fear that I think so many kids have, but it paralyzes them from doing what maybe they want. And it petrifies you from your potential. And I just know so many of my friends that went through and finished their, and I finished my finance degree, but they went into entry-level finance gigs, entry-level accounting jobs, and they fucking hate their lives. They are so frustrated. And I just knew, because I took that time to sit with myself, I just knew that if I didn't go on my own and bet on myself, I would end up just like where they are now. And you know, that's hopefully your kids hear that from you, maybe.
I definitely sharing this with them. Yeah. And I mean, like you said, right, not to make this like a motivational work life podcast, but like, I mean, I worked in a bank before I went into academics, and I hated finance too. It was the worst thing ever. It makes you feel so miserable. And like, yeah. So, and now seeing if people like, they find a way to pivot and do something else, it's just cool. You're like, hey, you took the chance, you tried it. That's impressive, right? It's nothing to actually like judge people for. It's like, should applaud them, I think.
Well, 100%. And I think that my career within combat sports is almost illustrated perfectly within that move when I was a junior, because I've never let setbacks define me. It's always been a setup. It's always been an opportunity for a comeback or a learning experience. I think failure, you know, kind of like with what I did, there's just a negative connotation with failure. You get written off. You get quote unquote exposed. I mean, shit, look at, I don't want to move to combat sports too quickly, but look at Peyton Talbot, right? A kid comes up against a veteran in Heoni Barcelos, and everyone's saying he's fraud checked. He's done. That's it. That's the limit. Peyton's 26. You know what I mean? Like, that was his first loss ever. I think that we need to refocus and reframe failure in everything in our society. And, you know, thankfully, I'm hopefully going to be maybe an example of that, for better or worse.
Yeah, no, I love it. And okay, I'm going to throw my structure away now, since we're already talking about like the MMA part. But I live in Bangkok, right? So in Thailand. So I watch lots of Muay Thai, like Muay Thai fight and stuff. And I mean, they fight so often, it's completely normal to lose a fight. Like, no one cares. You lost, okay, damn, get up, train again. Next time you're gonna do better. So there's like a huge difference to like, I'm from Germany. In Germany, like, you cannot lose. Like, you're just, you know, failure is not an option. You're gonna be perfect. And here's just like, just try. You try, it didn't work. Try again. It's just, there's so much to learn from that, I think.
And Shad, think about, like, with boxing, you paint a perfect picture. Muay Thai gets it. Muay Thai understands that sometimes it's not about the wins or the losses. It's about the performance. It's about the getting better. Within boxing, for decades, it's that whole, you don't want to lose this, you know? And to me, that's stupid, because everyone loses, you know? And I just think heightened emphasis on being undefeated, being unbeaten. You know, Floyd Mayweather, Khabib Nurmagomedov, these guys had amazing careers, once in a generation careers. But to stretch that over everybody and kind of hold everyone to that standard, I agree. I think it works backwards.
Yeah. I just wish like people would be like more exposed to that mindset. But like hopefully martial arts can help with that. I'm just curious, like, because I mean, obviously you're training and you're fighting and all that, and questions on that. But like, when was the first time you put on some gloves, and like, how did that feel? Were you like, let's go? Were you like, oh, I don't know if I fit in here? Like, how was that?
It certainly was. I don't think I fit in here. Yeah, I think it was midway through my freshman year at Arizona State University. There was a gym called AZ Combat, which was just within walking distance of where I was living at the time, which kind of, you know, that really was a big factor of what I did at that point. Can I walk here or can I not? You know, I didn't have the car at the time, didn't have a bike, so I was limited to just my feet. And, you know, it was a great spot. There was a lot of Dutch kickboxing that I did, a lot of submission wrestling that I did for about 9 months. And it was the first time that I'd really trained in a martial arts. Like, I'd done karate growing up, but I just don't count that. It was kind of, you know, bullshit. And so with that experience, I realized, one, man, I'm out of shape. You know what I mean? I was like, geez Louise, I did not have the athletics needed. And two, you know, you just get a grasp on the levels within the amateur scene, the levels within the pro scene, and then beyond. You know, we had a great spectrum of fringe UFC guys, high-level regional athletes, and then some amateur local fighters. And when you're sparring with those local guys, someone, you know, me who didn't have a lot of experience, you're like, I'm getting my ass kicked. And this is a kid who's, you know, not even making millions of dollars fighting, not even having a huge name. Shit, he's not even a pro, but he's tooling me around. So I think for me, it really early on illustrated the difficulty within combat sports and the levels that exist within it. And I think a lot of fans maybe don't have that perspective on those levels.
Yeah, you wish before you tweet, go train first. Before like one sparring session, then you can tweet about a fight. Like, yeah, but same experience. Like the first time I was in a gym, I was a bit intimidated. I was like, oh shoot, I'm not like a fighter. Let's go. I was like, oh, I'm not sure. And like, hey, we need someone to spar with this guy. Okay, I left with two black guys. I'm like, all right, cool. But then I mean, you didn't say like, hey, damn, that's too much. Oh God, you just came back.
100%. That's the only way to get better. I think that it's scary, it's difficult, and it's vulnerable because there's so many people better than you, and every day you're gonna have, a learning experience, and I think that that's really hard for some people. But I've never been someone that will turn away from coming up short or failing or recognizing that I need to trust the process. I've always trusted the process. I grew up in theater and doing improv and playing the drums. And within all of those different pursuits, you fail consistently. I'm not going to get up there and jam with the crew and know the song first time playing, right? I'm not going to get up there every weekend on with my improv troupe and make the audience laugh. There's a lot of times you go up there and it's fucking crickets and it sucks. But the only way to try and improve those skills is to keep at it. So like with combat sports, I really wanted to make a dedicated effort. But the reason why I stepped away for so long during my freshman year is just, academics got in the way. I needed to prioritize some clubs, some extracurriculars, things that I felt would be more beneficial to me at the time. That was the only reason why I got pushed away. But yeah, I mean, shit, just because something's hard doesn't mean you don't have to do it.
Did you always have that mindset, or was it something you had to develop over time?
Always had the mindset. Always had it. I tried to be as innovative as I could for as far back as I remember. A quick story, when I was in high school, my brother had started this club. It was called NDP Live. It was a multimedia club that the entire school hated. They fucking hated it because it was just the weekend announcements, right? It was boring, it was bland, it was drab, and every student was forced to watch it. So when he graduated, it had like a single digits acceptance rating, right? I took over and I said, okay, how can we boost the rep? How can we make people like this? Well, in addition to the weekend announcements that we have to do for the school, let's live stream all of these sporting events, the varsity games that are going on. I don't give a shit what it is. It could be football, it could be basketball, it could be wrestling. Let's live stream it all, and that can be a part of the cloud. And so we started doing that, and I quickly realized, okay, this is boring. It's just one video camera. That's not engaging enough. Let me plug in a microphone. I'll start giving commentary and add something for people to listen to, just because I wanted the club to have a better reputation. I was like, people fucking hate this thing that my brother made. Let me try and improve it. And, little did I know that was a great base for my commentating career. But, that's just a small example of I've always tried to be the best, make the best. And, thankfully that's something that I've never really lost.
So it's actually, you always had that martial arts mindset already, because I mean, that's what martial arts is about, right? Like keep going, keep getting better, not giving up, try different things. Like Bruce Lee, like if it doesn't work, put it away, try something else. That's basically what you've been doing all your life.
100%. And it's kind of like the law of 1,000 hours, right? Of practicing this same kick 1,000 different times. Mastering one technique or discipline is a challenge that you won't be able to complete without continued effort. And I think that for a lot of people these days, they might be at something for so long and think that, okay, I've got it all figured out. Got it all figured out. I've been doing this for 5 years. I've kind of turned over every stone within it. But there's always something better. There's always something you can learn. There's always a level that you can unlock. And so that's for me, with how I frame, like, for instance, my commentating career. Because I look at that very similar to fighting. Every event that I do play-by-play for, I almost treat it like a fight. I'm walking to the venue. It's game day. I want to put on the best performance, the best show possible, because it matters to me. And there's always going to be a show where I look back and go, fuck, could have said that. Could have framed up this way. I could have used more vocabulary in this fight. So that's the beauty of, I think, martial arts and a lot of things is you're never going to be a master, but trying to become one, I think, is the beautiful pursuit.
Nice. I love how you already draw the comparison between martial arts and then your job in this case. Because I was about to ask, of course, When it comes to martial arts, lots of us have like people that we like to watch and like, hey, I wish I could do that. Like for commentary, is it similar? Do you have someone that you're like, hey, that's kind of cool. I look at like how they do it and I try to get something from it, or is it just like I'm gonna figure it out all by myself?
No, absolutely. You look at the guys that are at the top of the scene right now, the gold standard, Anik, Chavello, Ronaldo, guys that have really carved out Mike Goldberg for so many years. These guys are titans of the combat sports commentating scene, and there is so many best practices to extrapolate and I would never say copy because copying gets you in tough territory. But like if you and I wanted to become good quarterbacks in the NFL, I would look at what Tom Brady did and try and replicate that to some serviceable degree. So absolutely, with Anik, what I love about him is the efficiency. Within an 8-hour broadcast, he wastes no words, and there's not many verbal crutches. There's few instances of him seemingly unsure of himself. He punches everything with confidence, and he is engaging the entire time, and there is just an economy with his words that I love. And that's something that I want to absolutely rip from him and place on myself. How can I make every single word that I utter throughout an event an effective one, right? So that's one practice, but yeah, absolutely. Within play-by-play, I view it the same way, right? Israel Adesanya, if I want to get better at kicks, look at him. Boxing, Ilia Topuria, same way that I view play-by-play commentators. It's that one for one. They're doing this. Maybe I can improve upon that skill by watching that.
Very cool. Yeah, I have to say, like in the beginning, like MMA, like the UFC events in Germany, it was like not a thing, right? They were like, hey, look at those barbarians over there. But when you listen to the commentary, and like, I mean, Anik as play-by-play, but then also, of course, the color commentators, and you're like, oh my God, wow. Like the commentary just adds so much to the whole experience. I mean, it's incredibly important. And people like you who taking it really serious, it's really cool to see. Because while it sounds like, you're sitting on your sofa, I could do that. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
It's harder than a lot of people think. I will say that, man. But, I think it's funny that, good commentating adds so much value. Bad commentating does the opposite. It fucking ruins fights. And that's one of my biggest frustrations is, I'll never name names, but you look at the regional mixed martial arts scene, for instance, and some of these promotions are in areas where maybe they don't prioritize the broadcast as much. Their emphasis is selling tickets. They want to fill out the venue. They want to pack the card. The broadcast is a third, fourth, fifth priority. And what happens when you get that is a team, an on-air team that you mentioned doesn't care as much. They aren't as passionate. And to me, that's just a big cardinal sin because these athletes have sacrificed weeks, months. They are going into that ring or cage, and a part of them isn't coming back, right? This is a massive chapter in their lives. Everything has come to this moment. And if you don't have an on-air team that is cognizant of that can celebrate this achievement on both sides, right? Red and blue corner, what's going on there, and punching that moment as big as it can be, then I think you're doing a disservice to people. And I think that it's really unfair for the athletes to have this fantastic fight and then it potentially is ruined by some fucking idiot that was down the street at the radio station that doesn't give a shit about either guy, is just doing this for $100. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen that. I've listened to that. It's fucking grating. So I've always prioritized the fighters. And when they watch their fights back, all I want is for them to go, man, this feels like a fucking pay-per-view. Man, this feels like a title fight. Big ups to that broadcast team. That's all I want.
Yeah, very cool. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, right? And then I'll move into like a few other questions, but one more on the commentary. Because you mentioned earlier that you like from uni, you then pivoted, adapted, and so on. But I wonder, like in your commentary journey, because I assume it's not all smooth sailing up until now. Were there some setbacks that you had to like overcome? Like, oh my God, now they don't want me. Like, what the hell? How do I go from here?
It's funny. The biggest setback, I'll tell you, with the play-by-play commentary came with what was supposed to be my first show. So I was doing esports commentating for about a year and change, right? That was where I felt, okay, barrier of entry is the lowest. I'll do MMA esports, and then I'll take that reel, shop it around, and try and get anybody to let me commentate in-person mixed martial arts. Now, there was an organization in Canada called Tarps Off, which they were starting a fight promotion, and I was in touch with the people. I'd done a little bit of media work with them, and they tapped me and said, hey, we'd love for you to do play-by-play. So I was so excited. I mean, this was probably late 2019, maybe 2020. I was just over the moon for this opportunity. Flew all the way out to Niagara Falls. We're going through fight week. I'm banging away notes all week long, talking to the athletes, and then COVID hit. Actually, so guess this was 2020, late 2020 it had to have been. And COVID hit, and Canada shut down completely. Day before the event, right? This was maybe like 3 a.m. of fight day. We get a call from, the athletic commission. They said, hey, the government's shutting us down. You can't do your event. And that was really hard for me. And obviously there's nothing you can do, but that was a moment where I was like, oh, is this a divine intervention? Being told cosmically, hey, this isn't for you. That was a moment where I could have stopped. The amount of times that I've been fired from MMA media gigs. I was doing the reporter role. I was making content for outlets, and each time I was fired, let go, pushed to the wayside. Those were opportunities I could have quit. That was even fucking before the commentating really came into the picture and locked into gear, right? So I have had plenty of failures, plenty of setbacks, and still do. Right there. I mean, even with where I've flawed myself too, there's shows I miss out on, things I don't get to do. That's the fucking game. But I think, again, failures, and one of those things where we've got a bad stigma with it, failures when you stop. I'm never going to stop.
Yeah, right. Cool mindset. Like I said earlier, right? It's so hard to find these days. I sound like an old person. It's so hard to find these days, but it's true, right? Because people are not used to obstacles. Maybe that's something that martial arts can teach people in general. Like, hey, just it's hard, but it's worth to keep going. And if you can use that in real life, it's just perfect. And speaking of it, it's hard, but keep going. What made you then actually step into the actual ring and have actual fights? Because from enjoying it to actually getting punched in the face, there's still there's a big difference. So what made you?
There is I think I lost there for a second. There's a massive difference. There is like a planet of difference between covering it, commentating it, and getting involved. My interest was a couple different layered reasons. One, it's great for brand building, right? I'm not going to lie about that. I'll be transparent. That's a great way to bring attention to the brand, do something different, do something unique than other people. Two, it was a great inroad for broadcasting, with Misfits fighting Anderson Silva's son. Yeah, that wasn't a smart idea on paper when you think of the matchup, right? But what did that afford me? That gave me a week in Newcastle with every decision maker on Misfits to tell them, look, I'm not going to give you the most value in the ring, but I will give you a ton of value next to it, right? I'll give you a ton of value in the broadcasting sense. So for me, the fighting was just an inroads, right, to open that door. Because at some point you're knocking, door's not opening for you. I felt, well, fuck it, I'll just put the gloves on and crash through myself. Exactly. And I think for me, like getting in shape, it was really important, right? Like I mentioned, the level of fitness and athleticism you need to be successful in combat sports is something that I didn't have when I was a freshman. Never did when I was fighting, still don't. But they were really nice opportunities to just address my physique and get in there and do 2 times a day pad sessions, sparring, right? Like I just really loved the physical side of things, and watching myself slim out, get leaner. That was fantastic for both my physical and mental health. But yeah, I think in like a 3-pronged approach, if I were to answer that question, why fighting? Those reasons.
Very cool. I like that you're not really focusing on like the outcome per se. Like I'm not gonna be there to upset, and I'm not expecting the win, but like the journey actually matters, right? Like getting in shape, getting opportunities, showing the people, hey, I'm here. This is very cool. Like, yeah. And it worked. I mean, that's then
I know. Thankfully it worked out, thankfully it worked out. And I agree. Like I tried. I always give it my all. And I'm just cognizant that sometimes there's insurmountable challenges, right? But if I can buckle down and give a good account and try, someone else can too. I'm not going to act like some fucking massive inspirational figure, but, I've gotten a couple messages over the last couple of years where it's been like, okay, you really inspired me to get back to the gym, or watching you compete enabled me to believe a little bit more in myself. And that effect, again, is not something that I was thinking I'd create by doing this. But now that I've seen it, I recognize, man, maybe there is a little bit of reasoning to do this for a cause greater than myself, which I think is pretty important.
Nice. It's like you're reading my bullet points, because one of the questions I have is like, besides just a direct impact on yourself, like, does martial arts somehow impact the life around you, the people, or like how you walk around? Like the other day I interviewed someone and she said like, I walk around way more confidently. People react differently to me now. I'm just wondering if there's something like this that you noticed.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. There's confidence associated with, even if it's just training, right? If you're in the gym and you're honing those types of skills, I think in your day-to-day life, every problem becomes maybe a little bit more, I don't want to say smaller, because I don't want to minimize anything necessarily, but like, when you're doing hard sparring, you're getting clocked in the fucking head. Maybe some issues at the 9 to 5 become a little bit easier to grapple with and comprehend. But I would say the biggest thing for sure is confidence. I think if you're someone that's trained in a martial art for years on end, or even just 6 months, you are probably capable of handling any average motherfucker. If something breaks out, you can defend yourself. You can neutralize the situation safely. And I think that affords you this great internal comfort, you know what I mean? Where you go, yeah, listen, I'm not scouting the 7-Eleven parking lots trying to find fights, but if something does break out, I have the skills to stop it. And that should make anyone feel very confident.
Yeah, I like it. I watched this dude here, like, it's called the Muay Thai guy, and he shared the other day, like, if you think you suck while you're sparring, just understand that there's, I think, I don't know if the number is correct, but he said like only like less than 5% of the people in the world actually practice martial arts. So if you think you suck, you still got them. So
100%, yeah.
Motivational. Okay. I have a few more like questions in regards to like how martial arts maybe impacted you, and like what we can take away for real life. And I'm maybe it's a bit like to know from my actual job, like as a prof, like, hey, how did this impact you? But I'm very curious if you can think of a situation where, like, tough situation in real life, and maybe before martial arts you would have reacted one way, but because you've been through all the stuff and you're used to suffering, you reacted in a different way.
That's a good question. Challenges that become, the response becomes changed due to martial arts. I think, I don't want to reiterate my point because that might be a bit redundant, but like, for instance, with, let's say, content creation, there's a lot of things in content creation where at one point in time, it might have been like this really frustrating struggle. And I'm on a conference call with some of the guys and we're banging our heads going, fuck, well, this piece of content's not performing well, or how do we brainstorm and create something engaging? And that at one point in time might have been, something that like would affect me greatly. And with the losses that I've had in combat sports and some of the really tough, truly tough moments within that space, I will state that it has made those types of sessions easier. And that's like a really minuscule example that is maybe hard to relate to. But it was literally something that occurred to me earlier today where I'm on a call and I'm just like, yeah, well, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And we'll try what we can, but let's fucking stop beating ourselves up over it because I'm tired. This isn't worth such extreme negative, stressful energy, right? There's way worse things that could happen than, oh shit, this Instagram reel's not going well. So maybe, it's probably not the greatest answer to that question, but that is one.
for me, it's the perfect answer because I mean it fits to also what I'm teaching at uni with like content creation, marketing, all those things. So it's perfect. I know like the whole mindset of like being perfect and like, you know, what we said earlier, right? Like in martial arts, you have to move on. You have to get in. If you have a fight scheduled, or sparring even only, you have to get in there. You cannot just push it. You have to just do it, and then from there you get better. So I think that's actually a perfect learning. I wish I'm not sure if you hear my cat in the background. I wish she would learn that too.
Yeah. You're fine. You're all good.
Okay, I have a few quick fire questions if that's okay for you. But before I throw them at you, I have one more like specific fight question because I mean you tried different things in martial arts. Right, as you talked about, is there anything that you would want to try like besides bare knuckle and boxing and what MMA and like you're like I want to be in karate combat. Is there anything that you would want to try?
Yeah, I think for me, after doing, glove boxing with Misfits, doing karate combat, doing the grappling with CFFC, and then obviously BKFC most recently, the only stone. Yeah, that was crazy. I don't know if I'd want to do any of those again, especially not bare knuckle. That hurt quite a bit. but I think again, like the only thing that's left for me to do is mixed martial arts. That kind of is the only thing left for me to do. If I do anything else, it's a repetition. And for me, I'm a man of escalation. I always have to kick things up to a different notch and a different degree. And I just hate doing the same thing that I've done before. I don't think that is true to myself. I don't think that that's meaningful or productive for my time or energy. But that being said, later this year, I might be hypocritical and go back on those words. But for me, it's MMA. Like once I do MMA, that truly will be the last time. Because then I could say I've done it all. And that was kind of part of, right? Again, when I did the BJJ match, I didn't anticipate doing boxing. I didn't anticipate then doing karate combat and then BKFC afterwards. But like as those opportunities further presented themselves, it occurred to me that, I'm kind of on this combat sports quest. And I'm just assembling every infinity stone of this world, and that legitimizes me further as a play-by-play. I think that legitimizes me as a personality within the industry, because you look at some of these big names, some of these reporters or media members, but very few of them have actually fought. And I do think it's very important that if you want to have a voice in the space, if you want to be taken seriously, and you have the ability to do so, fucking take a fight, train and take a fight. There are programs that are available to you. I mean, look what Oscar did in 2022, going through Tough Enough with the Train Alta program. I think every fucking journalist, every media member should do something like that because, like I said earlier, both the physical benefits, but you want legitimacy, go get punched in the face.
Yeah, great point. I think that I mean, I only see it on social media, of course, when I follow you guys, but you see it like once you or Oscar or you stepped in the ring, people, they're giving you credit for it because it's deserved. They're like, damn, you're actually doing it. Wow, shit, you know what you're talking about. Respect. So yeah, there should be like a mandatory, right? Like every comment is like, every journalist should have a match or something at least. Like it would be cool. Yeah. Okay, before I hit the rapid fire and then wrapping up, but before I hit that last question on that, like, because now we talked about like training and it's important to keep going and setbacks, but what would you tell someone who's like hesitant right now? They're like, yeah, I do want to do it, but damn, the gym is so intimidating. Like, look at all those big guys hitting them. Well, I'm not sure what would you tell those people?
I would tell them that they need to project themselves 3 months in the future. They need to project themselves 3 months in the future. And listen, if you stay consistent 3 to 4 times a week, 3 months from now, you're going to be thanking yourself. And the hesitation you might feel, the nerves, the anxiety of the gym, in 3 months of training, it's going to all fade away. It's going to melt away like a popsicle in the sun. You're going to become more connected with the guys. You're going to be more confident, again, in your ability. But if you're going to allow 3 months to fuck up your lifetime, you know what I mean, to prevent you from ever taking that first step, to me, that's lacking perspective, right? You got to step back and see the forest for the trees. I get it. It's scary. I understand that completely. Step back, put your nose to the ground, and in 3 months, you're going to be thanking yourself.
I love it. Do it, people. Do it. I love it. Yeah, nice. When you look back, you're like, yeah, I did it. So that's very cool. Okay, hey, rapid fire, real quick. I have 10 rapid fire questions. Let's see. I hope they're not too stupid, but let's go. Favorite martial arts movie?
Favorite martial arts movie? I'm gonna twist this a little bit. I love Kingdom, the TV show.
Oh, cool. Okay, nice, cool. If you could spar with any martial artist in history, or if you could fight anyone or spar with anyone, who would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. If I could fight anyone, my perfect fight would be, it's gonna be either like Mike Jackson or who's that flyweight that is really only good at jiu-jitsu that I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I want the worst UFC fighter. I want the worst UFC fighter in the UFC. That's like my perfect fight. A dream spar, maybe like Jose Aldo. I think he's pretty talented.
Okay, Mike Jackson called out right here. I like it. Okay. He's coming after people on social media. You better be careful. But okay. A martial art like principle that you think people should live by or should take more seriously.
I'm gonna butcher this one, but a martial arts principle that I think people should live by is that again, it's not really how you start, it's how you finish. And maybe that's not a martial arts principle, but I'll twist it and apply it. If round 1 doesn't go your way, short-term memory, you got round 2 coming up. Hey, if round 2 doesn't go your way, got round 3, right? Buckle up, buckle in. So just because it doesn't really start strong, or maybe it doesn't begin the way you want, it's really how you finish.
We've seen it the past weekend at the UFC, Merab, for example, right? Just doesn't matter how you start, it's really how you finish. So yeah. Perfect principle for life. Okay, cool. Is there any big inspiration in martial arts?
Big martial arts inspiration. I would say my biggest martial arts inspiration had to have been my karate instructor, Dave Bravo, who spent more time flirting with the moms than actually teaching us martial arts. That moved me as a 11-year-old.
Yeah, so cool. I want to be able to do it too. Okay, nice. Is there any skill technique that you're working on right now? Is there anything that I want to hit that joke, or I want to be able to have that kick or whatever?
Man, I'll tell you what, I have not trained in the gym since October. I've been doing CrossFit for like the last month and a half, 2 months, but I've not done anything MMA related.
Okay, fair. Okay, then next time we talk about this again when you're preparing for your MMA. Curious, do you have any because there are so many cool gyms out there, is there any dream gym location where you would want to train? Like, hey, I really want to train with those guys, or want to train at that place or something like that?
You know what? I'd love to chop it up with Cormier, the Nurmagomedovs, right? Makhachev at AKA. Because like grappling has always been my weakest aspect. And so I think spending a week with them, would be a little bit helpful and probably really fun.
In Dagestan?
Yeah, send me to Dagestan, baby. Give me a round trip to Dagestan.
What did he tell Cormier? Like, send your kids and forget them for a while.
Yeah, it's like 2-3 years and forget about them.
Awesome, yeah. Did you ever receive any real good advice from a coach, trainer, mentor, anything like that?
Really good advice. Get my chin off the center line. That was probably the best one, but I failed to follow that consistently. I don't, off the top of my head, I'm sure that I've been told a ton of really good, inspiring, moving, powerful things, but I was probably too concussed in the moment to remember them.
Head movement, yeah. Yeah, fair. Okay. What do you think? 3 more. What do you think is the most underrated skill in martial arts?
Most underrated skill in martial arts. I feel within MMA and people within the UFC, if you've got a really strong jab, like if you've got a mechanically sound jab, I feel like that will unravel a lot of people, because we just don't see that weapon perfected to, the extent that it is in boxing, or applied that maybe it should, right? Strong jab, everything else works off of it. And fuck, I mean, if you're just trying to come into the pocket and boom, eating a jab, it's going to frustrate you. So I'd say a good jab is underrated.
I would agree. And it's also frustrating how hard it is to get really good at it. Like, I mean, everyone can throw a jab, but like a really good jab, like with all the everything is so hard to do. So yeah, great answer. And most of the people, especially like here in Thailand where I train Muay Thai, like all the kids focus on like, you know, spinning back kicks and shuffles and stuff like this, but no one focuses on just that. So yeah, great answer. Do you have like a pre-fight superstition kind of thing that you would need to go through? Like, I know you don't wash your wraps or something. I don't know.
Gosh, no, nothing too superstitious as that. I think, what's helped me a lot the last two fights, the BKFC one and the Karate Combat one, is reiterating to myself that the moment's not bigger than me, right? Like, I belong here. This is my fucking moment. This is my show. And I think that's enabled me to just have comfort, right? And calm the nerves. I feel like for some people when they're backstage or they're warming up, like it's oh shit, like it's go time, and that might build up the butterflies. That might override your ability to think and see things. But I remember the BKFC one right before I walked out, again, just reiterating, this isn't bigger than me. I'm an entertainer. I'm going to go entertain. They want a show. I know how to put one on. Now, then I got my ass kicked, but it was a show, so technically I was correct.
Awesome. Nice. Last one. If you could like name or create your own signature move, what would that be? Like a Superman punch? Like what would be your signature move?
Oh, it's funny. So I wanted to be a pro wrestler when I was growing up. I was so deep into WWE and all of that. So what I would do is I'd have a finishing move called the death roll, and it'd probably be like an anaconda choke or a darts choke. But I would just keep rolling around on the canvas until until my opponent tapped, and then they'd be like, "Oh my God, he hit him with the death roll." So that might be my finishing move.
Didn't some wrestler have such a similar move where they roll around? Or do I make this up right now?
Maybe. I don't know. If they have, then you've just ruined 19 years of fascination and
from you, no. Oh, yeah, wrestling was also big here for me. Cool. Kind of funny.
Yeah.
From like fake to like real fights then. Yeah, cool. Do you still follow pro wrestling?
I've gotten a little bit more into it. When Punk went to AEW, that re-sparked my interest. And then obviously when he came back to WWE, I've followed it here and there. I really like the Cody Rhodes story, but now it's become a little bit stale. But now it's on Netflix, so I don't really have an excuse not to watch it.
Yeah, no, it's the same here. I think I left when Punk left back, and then
came back. Same, yeah.
Well, look at this. I know this guy, and The Rock comes on. You're like, hey, yeah. Oh wow, he looks old, but hey, yeah, The Rock. So, well, cool. I mean, storytelling wise, just to wrap up, but storytelling wise, I mean, I think sometimes martial arts can learn a little bit from WWE because I mean they know how to tell a story. Like you need to get the audience involved, right? So that's something I think that they do very, very well.
It's a completely correct principle. Listen, you could have the two best martial artists in the world, but if they're in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, with an audience of 100 people, nobody really gives a fuck, right? So you have to engage, you have to entertain, you have to scale out and maximize. And I do think, yeah, WWE and as horrible as a human being as Vince McMahon is, one of the things that he did really well was just dominate the market and scale things beyond belief. So martial artists, if you're in the martial arts industry, maybe go take an acting class too.
Yeah, just storytelling. Yeah. Hey, what's the one key takeaway, like the one message to the world that people should take away from this?
One key takeaway: don't stop. It's going to be hard. You might come up short. Fuck, you might even lose, but don't stop and make the most of it, right? Life's about opportunities, and if you get handed an opportunity to either commentate a show or have a fight, make the absolute most of it. Don't let it pass you by.
Awesome. Perfect last words. Where can the people find you? Where should they be looking for to see you next? Yeah.
At Ben The Bane Davis on all platforms. I'm going to be a little bit absent for the next 8 weeks or so, but that's the home of all the Bane content.
All right, cool. Make sure to follow and check this out. This sounds like you have something planned in the future.
I do have things coming up. Wish I could talk about them, but maybe maybe later in the year we can chat about it.
Okay, awesome. Hey, cool. Well, hey man, thank you so much for joining me. Like, I just started this thing and wanted to go for it, and you said yes, which is really cool. So I appreciate that a lot. So thank you so much for your time.
Of course, man. I appreciate it.
I think I'm Muay Thai. I think I'm